Here's a letter from the New York Times, by the way. So she's writing about all this safe space and the way American universities have totally deformed and debased that word, and they've now become safe spaces where the First Amendment doesn't run and where only approved ideas are allowed. And she goes, to the editor, yes, we are militant about justice, but the justice we seek and enact looks like healing, reparation, and care. We do have demands, but not that you submit to our etiquette, rather that you join a culture of compassion and acknowledge vulnerability. College students are volatile, and if our safe spaces seem more for hiding from ideas than for shelter from oppression, it is because we occasionally confound structural injustice, which hurts badly, with being in the world, which also hurts. This is what a Harvard education buys you. The safe space. Anytime anyone uses the word safe space, you should laugh at them and throw it back in their face. Because safe space is a fluffy bunny word for totalitarianism. That's what it is, the safe space. It means North Korea is a safe space as far as Kim Jong-un sees it, because it's exactly like an American university campus. Only the approved ideologies are let in, and that's and any ideology, any ideas that don't fit in are kept out. And that's what North Korea has in common with an American university campus. A lady called Rachel Martin, who's a host on NPR, and she interviewed this Northwestern professor, Laura Kipnis, who was essentially investigated under Title IX for something she said. Title IX, which insofar as anybody knows anything about it, was some law that we thought was intended to make sure women weren't denied the opportunity to be on the college wrestling team and that kind of thing. Al Gore was keen on it. In the 2000 election campaign, he was taking a riverboat cruise, and he was going down the river, and there were some people on the bank that he thought were for some women's sports team, and he shouted out, "How'd you like that Title IX?" at them, with that deft campaigning touch that Al Gore is renowned for, and they stared at him blankly because they hadn't heard of Title IX. But that's what it was. As recently as 2000, people thought it was something to do with making sure that girls had spots on the wrestling team or whatever. And now it's become something that is being used in the name of gender equality, is being used to shut down speech that ruffles the safe space. The safe space is a totalitarian concept. And Republicans ought to get serious about this kind of stuff, because by the time these kids take the 6 or 7 years to finish their bachelor's degrees and come out at the age of 27, 28, 33, 34, however old Sandra Fluke was by the time she'd finished school, the idea that they can be marinated in this for 2 decades and then go and suddenly pull the lever for a Republican candidate or support conservative ideas is absolutely ridiculous. The safe space is a fluffy expression for totalitarianism. Hitler, if Hitler had any sense, he would have changed the name of the Third Reich to the Third Safe Space, and people wouldn't have bothered him. Likewise Stalin, if instead of calling it the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, he'd called it the Union of Safe Space Republics, USSR, he wouldn't have to change any of the acronym or anything like that. People would have left him alone. If Mao had called Communist China the People's Safe Space of China, they would have had no problems. It's what a safe space is a one-party state. So that is exactly what it is like at American college campuses right now, where if you want to shut down a speaker, all you have to say is, "Oh, they're making you feel vulnerable. They're causing you a trigger warning." Coming and talking perhaps about a fair tax is a microaggression that's reminding you of your vulnerability as a woman who once invented a fake rape story and got on the front page of Rolling Stone. So the safe space is a totalitarian concept. The biggest safe space on the planet right now is the Muslim world. That's one huge safe space. The Arab world, the parts of it, Malaysia, Indonesia, you still have a bit of free speech and all the rest of it. But the Arab world is a big safe space monolith where nothing that doesn't fit ideologically gets in. The United Nations did a survey a few years ago, and they discovered that more books are translated into Spanish. Speaking of Rush Revere, because Rush Revere's Spanish edition is published today, and people are probably wondering, well, why is Rush Revere being translated into Spanish? Because more books, as the UN said, more books are translated into Spanish in a single year than have been translated into Arabic in the last 1,000 years. And when you have a safe space that's as safe as that, what it does is basically it shuts you down. It closes you off. You become a moribund culture. You become a non-innovative, non-dynamic culture. And when you read the letters of Hannah McShea in the New York Times, or when you listen to Rachel Martin on NPR saying there's a war of ideas, she's writing about this use of Title IX to shut down Laura Kipnis, and she says there's a war of ideas happening on college campuses these days. No, there isn't. There ought to be a war of ideas happening on college campuses, but there's nowhere with less ideas, nowhere with fewer ideas, anywhere in the Western world than an American college campus. There's a war on ideas happening on college campuses these days, where people are actively waging war on free speech. And then they come out of these places and they're in the real world, and you think the real world's going to hit them like a cold gust of wind, and suddenly they'll have to realize that there are people with different opinions on gay marriage, different opinions on transgendered bathrooms, different opinions on climate change. And that they're going to have to adjust to that. But no, they don't adjust to that, because they've been raised in the safe space. So their reaction is, when someone has a different view on climate change, and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse says, let's use RICO racketeering laws against people who are climate change deniers, they think that's good, because those climate change deniers are violating the safe space. When Clint Eastwood makes a joke about Caitlyn Jenner on the Blokes channel, on the Guy channel, on the Man channel, even the men, the metrosexual eunuchs who emerge from the safe space say, oh no, Clint made a joke about Caitlyn Jenner. That might be a microaggression to people. We'll have to cut that out of the broadcast, so we can't have that. If you're wondering why free speech is on the rocks in the United States and around the free world, it's by letting our children be held hostage in the safe space for the first 20 years of their life. And it's the safe space is where cultures go to die. The safe space is why the Arab world is culturally, intellectually, argumentatively dead, and it's why American campuses are dead too.